to the challenge. Joining us live via Zoom, here's the Chief Executive of our Golden State, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Much for the privilege and the opportunity to spend a little time with each and every one of you. Thank you to Donna for her remarks just a moment ago, to each and every one of you that are assembled here virtually at this remarkable moment, this remarkable hinge moment in California history, for that matter, American history. I'm going to try to sort of bring to light some of the more extraordinary and positive signs of not only recovery, but of optimism that I see all up and down the state, because I've had the privilege over the course of the last number of months to be in every part of California. In fact, just this week, I had the privilege of launching a $100 billion commitment to get our economy not back, but come roaring back. We talked about this $100 billion plan to transform the state of California, a strategy that is bolstered by the fact that the state of California is enjoying a $75.7 billion operating surplus. I'll just repeat that because it deserves to be repeated. It's never been stated or said by any governor in American history, let alone California history, a $76 billion operating surplus in the state of California. That doesn't even include the close to $27 billion that we'll be receiving from the federal government. All told, $100+ billion opportunity to reimagine, reinvigorate this state's economy and get people back on their feet, particularly those that have been disproportionately impacted by this pandemic. We launched it just a few days ago in the Bay Area, and we talked about the fact that we're not only enjoying record operating surplus, but we're going to enjoy record reserves. We're going to invest a record amount of money to pay down pension obligations. We paid off all of that wall of debt that Governor Brown talked about so many times at this chamber breakfast. We have been able to do things in terms of rainy day reserves and paying off deferrals and dealing with a lot of the mishigash in terms of budgeting and papering things over. And that's primarily because of each and every one of you. The fact that the state of California is roaring back is because of each and every one of you. It's the resilience of our small businessmen and women. It's the resilience of those that put everything out on the line, make a go of it, that create the jobs and are the real economic engine of the prosperity that we're now enjoying in this state, despite all of those vexing issues, which Susan and Donna laid out appropriately in detail, all those pre-existing conditions that we have to manage as it relates to the issues of affordability, housing, homelessness, and all of those challenges. But we are up to the challenge, and that's why we talk in terms of roaring back. Why wouldn't we? February. You saw the February job numbers. The United States of America. We saw big job numbers in February, March. I'll talk about April in a moment, but 41% of America's jobs came from the state of California. 41% in February. 275,000 jobs have been created in the state of California in February and March. That's not coming back, that's roaring back. Yes, April numbers were sobering nationwide. I imagine they will be represented in our numbers that come out very, very shortly. But nonetheless, we are seeing progress. And we're seeing progress because we've seen tremendous progress on tamping down the transmission of this virus. 1.1% positivity today, among the lowest case rates in America, among the lowest positivity rates in America, among the highest vaccine rates in the world. 33 million doses have been administered, over 33 million doses of vaccines have been administered in the state of California. Only 5 nations in the world have administered more doses. And yes, we are experiencing what other states are experiencing, and that is a modest decline, not an acute or steep decline, but a modest decline in people accessing these vaccines. We have a lot more work to do. But if we continue down this path, 2+ million doses administered in the last 7 days, if we continue down this path, we'll move beyond the blueprint. No one happier than I am to move beyond the blueprint. No longer talking purple or red, orange or yellow turns, move beyond the blueprint in just a few weeks. June 15th, around the corner, but we still have work to do. This virus is stubborn. It's not taking the week off, won't take the summer months off. We have work to do, but I want to just acknowledge the extraordinary work that has been done. Thank the Chamber and the board for their partnerships with businesses large and small all up and down the state to address the issue of hesitancy, to address the issues that will present themselves now of abundance and that hesitancy now obviously continuing to mask some of the equity issues that also need to be addressed and advanced. Speaking of addressing and advancing cause that I hope we all hold dear in terms of the cause that unites us, California, we're talking about making investments, historic investments across the spectrum to solve some of these stubborn and vexing challenges that this state faces, those challenges laid out by both Susan and Donna just moments ago. We just announced a $12 billion commitment on homelessness. We announced a firm commitment with an actual strategy and plan to end family homelessness in the state of California. We launched a commitment to clean the state up. The state's too damn dirty. The freeways, entrances, and exits are major thoroughfares in this state. You see it, I see it, we all see it. We see not just the graffiti, but we see mattresses thrown on the sides of the freeways. 2 years ago, the entire state budget to clean up the state, litter for the entire state when I got here just 2 years ago, it was $60 million. We just announced $1.5 billion commitment to not only clean up the litter, but to beautify these thoroughfares in the state, to get artists and bring a sense of community, brings of pride and place back into the work that Caltrans is doing. Also, it's an incredible jobs opportunity. 15,500 jobs are part of that proposal. We want to get that money moving and get those dollars out there right away. We have to deal with encampments. We've got to deal with chronic single adults that are out there duly diagnosed, self-medicating with drug and alcohol addictions. We've got to rebuild our mental health system. And we have resources to do it. We have plans to do it. I'm standing in Ronald Reagan's old office. We could talk about the way things used to be in the 50s, early 60s. We could talk about what happened in the late 60s and 70s and the dismantling of our behavioral health system. We're making historic investments to begin to rebuild that system. Billions and billions of dollars, intensive services and board care home expansions, opportunity for more conservatorships, but opportunities for intensive opportunities to get people back on their feet and moving again. $7 billion of new opportunities to convert hotels and motels, to do it in real time like we did with Project Home Key. 6 months, 6,000 housing units. 6 months, 6,000 units under Home Key. We're not doubling down on that. It was an $846 million commitment that we advanced, brought those units into escrow, got people off the streets, off the sidewalks, into those units. We're doing a $3.5 billion proposal with the legislature to not again double down on that, but to exponentially increase that very successful now national model, Project Home Key. We committed to protecting renters, $5.2 billion we are proposing to help renters pay off 100% of their debt. That helps every landlord that's watching as well, stabilizing the stress and anxiety that is obviously universal in this state around housing anxiety and security because of this pandemic-induced recession. $2 billion to pay down utilities and gas and water bills. Another deep anxiety for so many families, so many of your employees and workers, many of you that are watching as well. $5.1 billion to address this issue of the drought, which is to me almost perennial. I mean, the exception was the last few years where we weren't in a drought. But having just come out of a 5-year drought, had a couple years of some semblance of normalcy, here we are back in again, but this is different this time. Not only are we mindful of what we did right and wrong in 2012 to 2016, but we're building strategies and we're advancing those strategies with real resources. $5.1 billion to deal with safe drinking water and to deal with conveyance and to deal with groundwater replenishment, recycling strategies across the spectrum, emergency supports, medium and long-term commitments of capital to address some of these systemic issues, because we have to redesign our system to a world that we're living in, not the world as it was a half century ago. We announced yesterday transformative investments in public education. I'm long public education. You're going to see tomorrow in the budget. It's, I mean, historic. I know it sounds like hyperbole politicians always using those words, just objective truths. You're going to see a real strategy, a real plan. We previewed it yesterday. We're creating a whole new grade opportunity universally for every 4-year-old to get quality support and minimum 3 hours instructions by creating TK for all Californians. We actually have a strategy plan. We have the resources to do that. I was telling Governor Schwarzenegger's office how proud I was to actually make real Prop 49 in the After School for All initiative. We're going to fully fund After School for All. It never happened. It was sort of a minimum commitment that was advanced through his hard work and leadership and the voters' support, but it was a ceiling, not just a floor in terms of the contribution. And we're going to blow that ceiling, and we're going to now move forward with full implementation. And that After School for All program also is before school. It's about extending learning time, extending opportunity for enrichment. We're also mindful that we need to be more mindful of people's stress. And that's why we also announced a $4 billion transformative proposal to deal with adolescent and mental health, 0 to 25, full screenings across the panoply for all of our youth to deal with their trauma and their stress and their depression, not playing small ball in any of these respects, and nor on the issue that drives the reason I was privileged to be invited here today, on the issue of small businesses. And as you all may know, many of you know, many of you don't know, it's a cause of my life. It's been my life. I got into politics by way of small business. Opened my first small business, pen to paper, got 13 people, $7,500 each. They never thought they'd see the money again. One part-time employee, Pat Kelly, opened that small business, about 1,700 square foot small business. The warehouse was in my living room. I was the delivery boy, said back in 15 minutes when I had to deliver that wine, did all the stocking, did everything, figured out how to fill out those damn sales tax forms and learned what depreciation schedules were and learned what a P&L versus a balance sheet was, the whole thing, just practical realities you deal with every single day, and made a go of it. And I've just deep reverence and respect for all of you that put everything on the line. It's about your lives, your family's lives. It's about your identity, your dignity. It's not about business in the context of P&Ls and just profit and loss. Moreover, it's about what makes this state great, that entrepreneurial spirit, that willingness for people to take extraordinary risks and create opportunities for the rest of us. I've had the privilege of growing that business. We had it peak before we sold a number of them, close to 1,000 employees, over 20 businesses. I say that to impress none of you, but to impress upon you my passion for entrepreneurialism and my deep reverence and respect. They were restaurants, small businesses, like small hotels, intimately understand the pain and stress of the last year, directly understand it. And the struggle now to reopen with all of the dust settling around us and all the different rules and regulations, not just coming from the state, but each municipality up and down the state of California. And that's why we will announce tomorrow $4 billion. That's the total package of small business grants, not loans, grants that we're providing small businesses. We're going to add another $1.5 billion to the extraordinary work that was done by the legislature. Thank you, Senator Caballero, among others that were real leaders in that grant program. We're going to build off that by doubling down on our CalCompetes grants. We're going to double the CalCompetes grants to get more competitive against other states, an additional $180 million ongoing. We're going to create a brand new grant program to address the opportunity for relocations of additional $250 million under the CalCompetes plan. We believe that those that retained employees and those that are out there hiring employees should be rewarded. And we have a payroll tax called the Main Street Hiring Tax credit that provides $1,000 per employee, up to $100,000 in some cases for businesses. And we are putting another $100 million into that program. I was talking to Lieutenant Governor. She chairs State Lands Commission. She talks about the importance of investing in our ports, putting $250 million to invest in our ports that have lost tremendous amount of revenue and need to be more competitive in terms of their positioning to the world around us. The opportunity, and I heard it a moment ago from Donna, to do more to support Visit California and to do more to support our hospitality industry to get back up on their feet. Thanks to Senator McGuire, Thanks to Sharon Quick Silva. Thank you to Lieutenant Governor, among others. We're putting $95 million, almost $100 million to Visit California, to help with their promotion and to help with their marketing of the world's greatest brand, California, as part of our comeback, part of our roaring back strategy. We're going to do more in terms of making available credit. You're going to see tomorrow on the budget $895 million for new credit enhancements for small businesses. You're going to see additional money for people that fall through the cracks, these seed grants of $10,000 for people regardless of their immigration status, others that may not have credit worthiness or may not have access to checking, savings. I mean, all of that, we're creating new programs, tens of millions of dollars in that space across the spectrum, even an increase in the film tax credit for those that are curious. Be more competitive, bring back, especially, I mean, we're going, Georgia, we're not going to be passive anymore. You know, we talk about roaring back, it means we got to step up our game across the spectrum. That's what this proposal is all about. And by the way, you know, for all the haters out there, with all due respect, 99 IPOs, eat your heart out. 99 IPOs year to date, 99 in the state of California. Dominated last year, dominated yet again in venture capital, more than New York, more than Texas, more than Massachusetts, combined by double. That's California. Record-breaking venture capital last year in the state of California. Once again, you saw the Bloomberg Index, the #1 most innovative state in America, the state of California. More startups in this state this year to date than any other state in the country. You know, it's just remarkably, we've developed a little amnesia. You know, before the pandemic, we were averaging over a 5-year period, 3.9% GDP growth, knocking the doors out. No one came close. Florida didn't come close. Texas didn't come close. The United States government didn't come close. We were even at 3.4% the year prior to the pandemic, better than those states. Still, we are roaring back. California's entertainment industry, tech industry, biotech, Donna mentioned this a moment, manufacturing, #1 in manufacturing jobs and manufacturing output, 35,000 headquartered manufacturing companies, state of California. Agricultural, please, no one comes close in terms of the work that's done in the fields every single day, and this state's a point of deep pride, ag, and what we're able to export to the rest of the world. You're seeing the merger, combinatorial nature of technology and entertainment. You're seeing that reflected in Apple TV, not just Netflix. You're seeing it in Disney Plus, Hulu. Who's going to dominate that? California is dominating that. All of these creative industries, no one comes close to the state of California. You don't take my word for it. Look at Fortune, fastest growing companies in the world. California dominated. They just had headlines, the top 100 fastest growing companies in the world. How about this? The most influential companies in the world, Time Magazine, close to half were in the state of California that were identified as United States-based companies. So don't believe all those headlines of people that have been trying to take us down for decades. Someone described it like hating on the Yankees or something. That's sort of the attitude people have about California. But with all due respect, man, we are in a whole another place and opportunity. Deal with that homeless issue, deal with this housing issue, deal with affordability, start cleaning the streets up, get serious about reimagining, transforming public education, and invest in that conveyor belt for talent. Nothing else like it on planet Earth. UCs, CSUs, and our community college system. Tune in tomorrow at the budget, and you're going to see unprecedented investments in that space. That's part of this remarkable comeback that is California. I'll just close with a few additional points. I'm very mindful, and I'm reminded of this every day with my extraordinary wife, got 4 young kids, that this pandemic has not impacted all of you equally. And I'm very mindful that it's impacted disproportionately women. And that's why I'm also proud in this budget. Got lost. We announced it on Mother's Day. It seemed the right thing to do on Sunday. But we're going to expand childcare, which is economic development. Chambers will be the biggest proponent of childcare expansion to help these small businesses. And that's 100,000 new childcare slots. That's also part of this budget. We're going to go after that SALT deduction. Don't think we're passive on SALT. I know some of you are like, what's he talking about? A lot of you are like shaking your head right now. We actually have a partial SALT fix. Tune in tomorrow for primarily S corps. We're working on LLCs as well. $12 billion, biggest tax rebate in California history. We announced that this week. Everybody earning up to $75,000, those that have been disproportionately impacted by this pandemic, you're going to get direct stimulus checks over the next number of weeks. So you've got kids, back to a children's agenda, mothers, we're going to add an additional $500 to those stimulus checks. The biggest tax break was just advanced. Thank you to leaders like, Autumn Burke for the work on PPP. Again, not everybody knows what PPP is. Those of you that got that loan are very satisfied with that $6.2 billion tax break that the state of California advanced, which we also think is not insignificant. Look, I can go on and on. It's pretty obvious I don't have a teleprompter here or prepared remarks, but I hope it's also obvious that I'm long California. I love this place. I care deeply about its deep pride in California. People want to take cheap shots, but we're going to push back. People think our best days are behind it. You're full of it. You have no idea what this state represents and what it's going to represent to the rest of the world over the course of the next 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years. Roaring back. That's California. That's California dream. We're going to make it alive and well for everyone. Growth and inclusion. Don't think we're not mindful of the challenges. Don't think we're not up to solving those challenges. I hope you'll tune in tomorrow, learn more about our strategies, our plans, and give me an opportunity, not just now in closing, but also tomorrow to thank each and every one of you. I am mindful. All of this has happened because of you, your hard work, your resilience, and I'm mindful of all the stress and fear, all that anxiety that you and all of us have had to work through and weather over the last year. We talk about light at the end of the tunnel. Final words. I don't see light at the end of the tunnel. I see bright light at the end of the tunnel. California is coming roaring back. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much, Governor, for your leadership as we continue to work our way back to normalcy. Before we sign off, I want to thank Sacramento Media Center. Their production and camera work allowed us to bring you this virtual event today. And thank you also to Illuminate Production Services for their stage design. On behalf of the host committee and California Chamber of Commerce, thank you for joining us for this virtual host breakfast. I encourage you to take the quick survey that will appear on your Zoom screen immediately after this event ends. And if you haven't already, please get your vaccine. Let's get this virus under control.